Welcome back to the Alter Ego Bros. I'm Andy, that's Nick, and today we're going to be reviewing They Will Kill You. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's jump into our scores. I'm a 7 out of 10. I think this is a better version of Ready or Not 2, but only by a little bit.
I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. I was very surprised at how fun and exciting this movie was. However, it does have its flaws. But on the upside, I gave it a bonus point. So we were actually in agreement. I was also a 7 out of 10, but I thought that the choreography needed to have a point for itself. And I really, really wanted to give this like even higher than that, but I just couldn't justify it.
And that's going to put it at a 7 on our tier list. So funny enough, I actually made the note here saying that this is a 7, but borderline an 8. And it's the story for me. Like I wanted to push it to the next level, but there's some moments where it's just like I could have enjoyed some more character depth. And there were also a couple moments that just make you want to tilt your head and call out some bullshit. Kind of like when they would talk about like scratching out the name and stuff. I'm just like, sure. So those moments is what held me back, or else I could have pushed it there. So maybe we do talk about the story a little bit. I think from the story perspective and why I think this is slightly better Ready or Not 2 is that I found it a lot more interesting how they really handled their environment using the elevators and trying to hide and using the walls within inside the hotel itself. I thought it was really cool. I thought the comedy of this really stood out to me because in Ready or Not 2, it was kind of hard to differentiate at times when it was trying to be a comedy or trying to be a serious horror movie. But this one, I felt like I understood when those differences were happening. And the comedy in here, I thought was a little bit more, appealing for me. The only slight thing story-wise is nitpicky. It had nothing to do with my score, but I want to mention it here. Is in the very beginning, Asia is telling her little sister that she can't buy the chocolates because it's too expensive, and then immediately shows her her pricey tattoo she just got. I'm like, you spent money on the tattoo, but now we can't eat because of it.
I had that thought too, yeah.
I was like, and the little girl's like, oh, really cool. I'm really glad you got that. I'm like, really? Are you sure? And I thought that was kind of funny, kind of a bit of an oversight on like, let's be real about this. But anyway, so that's pretty much all I have to say about the story. What about you?
So I have several little ideas in here that I wanted to get across about the story. First off, it is inconsistent, but it's so fucking fun. It felt like this would be a great video game. Like I wanted to be in this world and participate. I did not get that this was going to be like an immortal zombie hordes of people coming after like just two people throughout the entire movie, and it's just a bloodbath, like a hack and slash video game. But it was so fun. It reminded me so much of like an action horror version of Love Hurts from last year, with the style of the choreography, with the apparent like love letter to old Hong Kong martial arts movies. And that's what this is. I've seen a lot of people compare this to Kill Bill and be like, oh, it's just a ripoff of Quentin Tarantino. It's just a ripoff of Kill Bill. Kill Bill has the same inspirations as all those other movies. It all boils down to Hong Kong martial arts movies from the 60s and 70s. That's what it's from. Quentin Tarantino says it himself that he completely stole from that era of filmmaking. And it's a lot of people are using it as a critique, and it's like, no, it's just a love letter. It's doing exactly what it needs to. Also, the camera work was very Wes Anderson at points, and I was just digging it the whole time. You'd see like the scene would pull out and they would be like in an air duct or crawling up in the elevator shaft, and you'd just see it from this very vertical or horizontal sliced view, and you'd see multiple characters from really wide angles, and it was just really fun and really engaging throughout. I had so much fun with this movie. I can't even get it across. So I'm not going to.
So with the cinematography, I thought the camera work really took advantage of the layout of this whole place too. It really made, like I mentioned before, it made it feel big and small at the same time. But one thing I thought was really smart was when they were in the crawl space and they were having to crawl and race to each other. It was clearly fast forwarded to give it kind of fast animation. I think that's kind of a bit of the Wes Anderson-y type of thing that they did too. Where it takes the cake for me and why it pushes it to a higher score than Ready or Not 2 is the music. I thought the music in both movies did a really good job, but I thought this one really nailed the comedy aspect in the music a little bit better and really fit the story a lot more. I thought the comedy moments between the music and the story blended together, and the parts where it was more serious and needed to be more dramatic were also going hand in hand as well too. So do you have any thoughts on like cinematography or music stuff?
The music choices, I thought that the actual contemporary music that they put in there to like really hype up those action scenes were wonderfully placed. And it needed that not only to hype up the action, like I just said, but to ground you in the time and place in which the story is taking place. There's a lot of different eras that go back and forth in the movie. A lot of the people are from hundreds, 200s, 300 years ago, but it takes place in present day. So it still has to have that anchor of this is where we're at. This is the driving force behind this scene. And I just thought they did an excellent job of choosing when to go contemporary, when to have the actual symphonic score behind them, and when to highlight those comedic moments, as you said earlier.
Okay, lastly, CGI, special effects stuff. Practical effects, really cool, really good stuff. CGI took me out of it. It clearly needed more times to be rendered. The CGI at times just looked fake and blurry. So it's frustrating when you see that these days because we know the quality that we can get to and just the studios aren't willing to invest into it. Had there been a little bit more time spent there, I probably would have upped my score another point, but the CGI is the reason why I had to keep it kind of mid.
So I agree, the CGI was very inconsistent, and it was very clear that they were saving it for the head at the end. That held a lot of the legwork. That's probably where a majority of the CGI budget went, which is why the rest of it was so weird and out of place. And I feel like we say it all the time, but the CGI needs to enhance the practical side of things and not try and steal the limelight from them. And there were just too many parts where it was doing that. It was overshadowing other things that were going on within the scene. And there was a video I watched recently about one of the animators for Moana, and he was in charge of one of the boats, right? And he worked for like hours and hours, like thousands of hours to get the movement of the boat on the water right. And he kept getting these notes from the director, oh, it needs to do this, it needs to do that. And then when it came time for the movie to come out, the water people covered every single thing that he did. And it was like, why did I spend thousands and thousands of hours getting all these little tiny movements correct when it didn't even matter? The water just overshadows everything. And you see it. You see like the waves are over the boat. There's extra splashes that are added. And when you take away from what is supposed to be the focus, you really do just chop up everybody's work underneath that. And I felt awful because the practical effects were just so amazing in this movie. They really honed it in.
I knew you were going to be passionate about that stuff in this one.
This one just got me.
But don't just take our word for it. Let's see what the internet has to say. All right, taking a look online, it looks like the audience has given it around a 7.5 out of 10, which is right where we are. And critically, they have given it a 5.5 out of 10. A little surprised by that. I thought they'd be a little bit higher on this one. I'm curious where they might have been different from us. So with that, I guess we should probably look at more of a negative review to contrast our review. So here's a 1 out of 10 we found online. Terrible. This movie was so disappointing. The fight scenes were genuinely good, but that was the only thing it had going for it. What this could have been was an incredible black female samurai revenge story, something with the stylish intensity of Kill Bill. That's clearly the kind of energy it seemed to be aiming for, and it honestly felt like the occult elements were thrown in just to grab attention. Instead, the plot was a complete mess. The story never really came together, and the climax somehow managed to be even worse than everything leading up to it. It felt like the filmmakers were trying way too hard to channel Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez at the same time, but completely missed what makes the style work. This wasn't it. I was bored, frustrated, and by the end, I honestly wish I could get our money back for this atrocity.
I mean, you were at the theater. You literally could have gone and got your money back. I struggled to find reviews that didn't mention Quentin Tarantino or Kill Bill in any fashion. People are still comparing them to movies like this and say, oh, it's just a ripoff. It's just a ripoff. It's not. It's not. Kill Bill is not the only movie to do things like this. It is not the first movie to do things like this. I really appreciate that movie, but to keep bringing it up in this fashion, in this context, without mentioning the movies that came decades before Kill Bill that had all of these points is just an ignorant take, and one that is just widespread everywhere. And I don't agree at all.
Yeah, it seems like people are disappointed because it's not what they wanted it to be, which just confuses me, because it's like going to a rom-com and wanting it to be an action movie, and it's just not. And you're like, oh, this could have been the sweetest action movie ever, but no, it's just a simple rom-com. And like, it doesn't make sense to compare it from something you want it to be. Like, compare it to what it is. To me, it was a black female samurai revenge story. Just
exactly
the true title of a samurai. So,
and that'll wrap this up.
Well, it is what it is. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We really appreciate that. YouTube is liking us a lot more because of it, so keep it up. And remember, we're just two regular dudes
doing regular reviews. I don't know if this will go in the movie at all, but when you were talking about the crawling, that did make me think of.
Well, this won't go in the movie because this isn't a movie, it's a review.